Every day we walk within it, most of us unaware of it, holding fast to it nonetheless, as we breathe its air and take in its beauty, as we work its land and cultivate its commerce. We create in it, laugh in it, dance in it, raise our families in it, kneel and pray for it. But here is the day where we stop and look at it, really look at it. We light up the sky for it, wave our flags with a special kind of joy, gather our neighbors and loved ones, and let freedom ring. Over the mountains we climb, through the neighborhoods where we live our lives, and into the night sky that watches it all. We celebrate our freedom and press on to perfect the process of democracy. Our democracy. With every hearty handshake and every bright firework and each prayer of thanks to God for all of it, we continue to pursue the protection of life. We keep protecting the hard-fought liberty. Out of many, we have become one.
Good morning and welcome to West. Happy 4th of July, and thank you for joining us this weekend for this holiday weekend. If you will stand and join us in singing, appreciate it.
God, I'm on my knees again. God, I'm begging, please again. I need you. I need you. Walking down these desert roads, water for my thirsty soul. I need you. Oh, I need you. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. Hey! Dead man walking, slave to sin. I want to know about being born again. I need you. Oh God, I need you. So take me to the riverside. Take me under baptized. I need you. Oh God, I need you. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. Oh, my skin. I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change.
seated.
Can you hear me now? Good. So, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, we're in the middle of our I Spy message series where we are going to take a look at how we can see God in our everyday lives and in unexpected ways. Today, we have an absolute rock star of a show that the awesome band is going to perform for us throughout the entire message. So, we are going to have so much fun. Hello. Thank you, guys. Happy 4th of July. All right, you ready to rock? Woo! It's yeah.
Busted flat in Baton Rouge, waiting for a train. When I was feeling near as faded as my jeans, Bobby thumbed a diesel down just before it rained and rode us all away into New Orleans. I pulled my harpoon and my dirty red bandana. I was playing soft while Bobby sang the blues. Windshield wipers slapping time. I was holding Bobby's hand in mine. We sang every song that driver knew. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing, it ain't nothing, honey, if it ain't free. And feeling good was easy, Lord, when you sang the blues. You know, feeling good was good enough for me. Good enough for me, my Bobby McGee. From the Kentucky coal mines to the California sun, yeah, Bobby shared the secrets of my soul. Through all kinds of weather, through everything we've done, yeah, Bobby, baby, kept me from the cold. One day at Salinas, Lord, I let him slip away. He's looking for that home, and I hope he finds it. Well, I'll trade all my tomorrows for one single yesterday, to be holding Bobby's body next to mine. But freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing, that's all that Bobby left me. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when he sang the blues. You know, feeling good was good enough for me. Good enough for me.
Huh? Yeah, I don't know why. Okay, so we've started a little out of order today, but that's okay, because guess what? God comes to us in unexpected ways, and I believe that this is one of them. So, who knows who sings that song? Yeah, great job, great job. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about 4 artists who have passed away, but they have left us an incredible legacy. If you recognize any of the following names, can you please clap or type in the chat if you recognize them? Woohoo! Okay, did anyone grow up being told or thinking that you could not listen to this type of music if you were a Christian? Yeah, me too. And I'm still very new to Christianity, but I even thought that I couldn't listen to what they call secular music, which is just like non-Christian music. But here we are. Today we are going to talk about all 4 of these artists. We've already started with Janis Joplin, and I believe that we can totally see God work in their lives. And like I said, they have all passed away, but they are still some of the most top performing artists on Spotify, Apple Music, in cover bands, and now at West Church. Woohoo! Okay, so I promise we will be reading from the Bible today, and Jesus is a part of this conversation, but you know, I had to fall into the deep rabbit hole of how we can find God in this music, just because I think it's important for us to remind non-Christians or people who are still trying to figure out their spirituality that God is in every single thing that we do, and that includes listening to the rock and roll stations on the radio or at home. I want to share with you some science behind why humans love music. This is an awesome article by Vox. The author of the article is Brian Resnick, and he talks about how music to human beings is very interesting because they can't figure out when in history music really started becoming a part of our culture or why we started having it in the first place. But their guess is that it came from just expressing yourself through language. So some people would actually begin to start singing or speaking really fastly, and then they were able to put sounds behind it. I think that was like the coolest thing ever, to figure out that it wasn't like one day people in the caves were like, yeah, let's start a rock band. It just happened over time through expressions of language and being able to use tools and everything to make sounds. But the most interesting part is that to our brains, music is a pattern. So that's why typically you enjoy the same genre of music, because your brain is able to predict the patterns of that genre, and why you're most likely not going to like something outside of the genre that you're used to and that you prefer right away, because your brain can't pick up on the pattern. So there is some science behind why you enjoy the music that you enjoy. Can you guys take a guess at what genre is the least liked because of unpredictable patterns? Close. Jazz, yep, jazz. So the people who like jazz, they actually have a special little, I don't know what it's called, maybe a neurotransmitter. That sounds like a brain word, doesn't it? They have something in their brains that's similar. So all the people who like jazz have that same little thing in their brain. But for people who don't like jazz, it's because your brain is having a hard time picking up on the patterns, and it's very unpredictable, so it makes you fearful of it. Speaking of being fearful of music, while I was doing all the research for this message today, I came across something that they pointed out that said that because of the patterns that are unpredictable, rock and roll was very feared when it first came out in the 40s and 50s. So I really think that there's a link between why people tried to say that rock music was something that you shouldn't be listening to as a Christian, or even going as far as to say that it's like the devil's music, because they were scared of it because they could not predict the patterns, and they couldn't figure out why people were listening to it, and it just scared them because of fear. So today, I'm really hoping that we can have fun up here, and I hope you can learn from some of the music that we're going to listen to. So like I said, we've already done Janis Joplin, but I do have some fun facts about Janis Joplin. So she has a book, or a biography, and it's called Her Life in Music. It was written by Holly George Warren. Janis Joplin was a huge influence to musicians, and George Warren provides a psychologically sensitive and detailed portrait of a complex woman. Joplin's life, as well as the rocket rise of her career, was rebellious and nonconformist, yet she was known for yearning for love and a place to fit in. She exuded confidence, freedom, and strength, yet suffered deeply from insecurity and low self-esteem. She was a breakout star and remains an iconic symbol of 60s rock. I went on Spotify, although I am an Apple Music person myself, but I was on Spotify because Spotify will tell you how many monthly listeners an artist has. So it says here that Janis Joplin was really popular in the 60s and a little bit of the 70s, and she has since passed away. How many monthly listeners do you think Janis Joplin has in the year 2023? It's in the millions, I can tell you that. 8 million? Okay. Anybody else? 2.5. All right. Janis Joplin still currently has 4.2 million monthly listeners, according to Spotify. I find that incredible because even back then when she was very famous and popular, they didn't have the streaming possibilities that we do today, and people couldn't just hop on their phone and try to listen to her music. So her legacy has lasted all this time because of the way that people feel connected through her music. That, to me, is still a form of God's expression. We can still find connection and love and meaning through people's songs, regardless of what we try to label their intention as. A famous quote from Janis Joplin is, "I've been looking around and I noticed something. How much you really need to be loved. Ambition isn't just a desperate quest for possessions, possessions, or money. It's just love. Lots of love." And that's a quote from someone that others would deem irresponsible and rebellious just because of the way that she expressed herself through music. But at the end of the day, Janis Joplin really, really cared about being loved and loving others. And I think that's so special and something that we can learn from. Next artist is going to be Kurt Cobain. And if you're not familiar with Kurt Cobain, he's the lead singer of Nirvana. And same thing, we have a biography for Kurt by Danny Goldberg. And it says, "This allows readers to go beyond the grunge of Kurt Cobain and see a man of complexity and contradiction. On one hand, we see the driven, ambitious, intense musician who achieved immense commercial success in a very brief time. On the other hand, we see the slacker, the sensitive daydreamer from a background of poverty and punk." How many monthly listeners do we think that Nirvana as a band has? 15, 12? Close. 21.5 million monthly listeners. A quote from Kurt is, "I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not. Wanting to be someone else is a waste of the person you are." Now, as the band plays Come As You Are by Nirvana, I really hope that you can think about how this song makes you feel as you're sitting there listening to it, but also see if you can try to figure out how Kurt and the band were feeling or what they wanted us to feel as they were creating this song for us. Enjoy.
As you are, as you were, as I want you to be, as a friend, as in all
Has anybody ever heard Nirvana in church before? Nope, great. Glad to be the first time. Okay, so now before we finish off our last two artists, I want to take this time to figure out where we can see this in the Bible. Obviously, rock and roll and these artists are probably not specifically going to be named in the Bible, but more of where God shows up in unexpected places for people throughout the Bible. I am terrible with memory. I would never be able to remember all of this, so I'm going to read all of the instances that I found from my notes right here. The Christmas story is one of the best examples. In an unexpected place, through an unexpected woman, at the most unexpected time, God shows up in the most unexpected way as a little baby. This is the pattern of God. God shows up in unexpected places for Abraham in old age, Caleb in a windless war, Daniel in a lion's den, Felix in truth spoken by a common criminal, Gideon in a wool fleece, Isaiah in the death of his king, Jacob in a wrestling match, Lazarus in his own death, Moses in a shrub, Noah in an ark, Peter on the shore, Queen Esther in a kidnapping, Ruth in a foreign land, Samuel in the middle of the night, Timothy in his youthful years. God shows up in unexpected places. When choosing people, he came to the smallest. When choosing a king, he came to the youngest. When choosing disciples, he came to the least qualified. Israel expected blessings through birth order, but God chose the second son of the family. They expected God would protect the strong, but his law protected widows, the fatherless, and the aliens. They expected the Messiah would come from the religious elite, but he came from a young woman. They expected he would come in glory, but he came in infancy. They expected he would take up the crown, but he took up a cross. They expected he would praise the Pharisees and chastise the sinners, but he chastised the Pharisees and loved the sinners. They expected he would ignore the poor, but he promised them something more. They expected he would honor their traditions, but he hated their positions. God shows up in unexpected places. It's the pattern of God to shock and surprise us in ways that we don't understand. Imagine the potential that idea brings to this day. It means that there should never be a moment in which we think God is not at work, which includes us sitting here this morning listening to Nirvana at our church. God is at work in everything, through all people, all things, and everything that we could possibly do in our day-to-day lives. Now let's take a look at Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse is one who, she was famous in the early 2000s. She passed away in 2011, so she's a little more recent than the rest. In her biography, the author Nick Johnson sifts through copious, sensational, and exploitive media coverage to provide a balanced and candid portrait of a talented, intelligent, and vulnerable young woman living a life under growing pressure. How many monthly listeners do we think Amy Winehouse has? Good guess. Huh? I don't know if you guys can hear, but Adam's commentary up here has been so funny. He's like, wow, really? Amy Winehouse has 14.8 million monthly listeners. Yep. And this song that we're about to hear, called Valerie, has 322 million streams on Spotify alone. Her quote is, "I fall in love every day, not with people, but with situations." Please enjoy Valerie.
Sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water, and I think of all the things what you're doing. In my head I paint a picture, 'cause since I've come on home, well, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over Hope you didn't catch a tan. I hope you found the right man who'll fix it for you. Are you shopping anywhere? Change the color of your hair. Are you busy? And did you have to pay that fine? You've been dodging all the time. Are you still dizzy? 'Cause since I've come on home, well, my body's been a mess. And I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, Valerie. Well, sometimes I go out by myself and look across the water. And I think of all the things, what you're doing, and in my head I paint a picture. 'Cause since I've come on home, well, my body's been a mess. And I missed your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, why don't you come on over, Valerie?
Woo! Now, before we finish up with Jimi Hendrix, I just want to point out that all of these incredible artists passed away at the age of 27 years old. Now, this ranged from back in the 60s, 70s, Kurt was in the 90s, and Amy Winehouse was in 2011. All 27 years old, and that sounds, I'm sure, like they were babies. But look at the impact that they still have on the world today, because they did what they loved. They tried to show love through their music, and we're still enjoying it and connecting to it and just loving through it today. And that shows. These numbers are not just a wow factor, but 14.8 million people still listen to Amy Winehouse today. That's wow, because she has touched that many people's lives through her music. Each of these artists not only died at the age of 27, but they also struggled with substance abuse. And it's like how wonderful that God took something that was tragic and difficult and tough, and he's turned it into something that will last forever, because of the impact and the connection and the love that we can feel through their music. I didn't even know that most of these people were only 27 years old when they passed away. That seems so young. And then it also, for me, I'm like, oh, wow, I have a lot to accomplish before then. But wow, 27 years old, Jimi Hendrix, the best, well, arguably, Michael, I don't know. Okay. One of the greatest guitar players of all time, has impacted this world and probably will forever by the time he was 27 years old. We have a special performance by Michael of Jimi Hendrix's version of the Star Spangled Banner for 4th of July. Woohoo! Before Michael begins, I would like to share Jimmy's quote. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Take it away, Michael. Wow, that was so awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. That was so good. So, every time you hear Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, or Kurt Cobain, I hope you can remember this day here at Lake Norman High School with West Church Lake Norman and know that God is in all things every day in our lives. As I turn 27 next Wednesday, thank you. This was very, very special to me, and I hope it is meaningful and powerful and can be a great reminder of us to see God in all things in our lives. Will you pray with me? Dear Lord, sometimes it's hard to feel or see your presence in every aspect of our lives, yet we know that you're there. Help us look for you in ordinary things that are actually extraordinary, even when times get tough. We know that you are in all things, including all of us and the legacy of these 4 incredible, talented human beings. Thank you for allowing their lives to transform others through deep connection and feelings. Fill us with love and let our eyes see goodness in all things every day. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much for joining us today. We weren't here for a long time, but hopefully it was for a good time. Woo! We will continue our I Spy series next week, and we hope to see you there. Go in peace. I know. Yeah, it's a 27 club. Yeah. Awesome.